Hey everybody, Justin down in the electronics workshop. So I'm kind of in between some of my jobs, and one of the projects I want to get done is I was working on this Heath kit regulated high voltage power supply with bias capabilities and heater, 6-volt heater. The model number for this Heath kit is an IP-32. It's a really handy variable power supply. But where I left off on it is the negative supply was in good operating condition, but the high volt positive supply wasn't really getting up to full get up and go. So in this video today, I'm going to go ahead and install a cap kit. It's going to be kind of a quicker job to get through and do a bit of the process. And I got this cap kit from a seller on eBay. They included a nice paper copy of the process, and there's some other stuff that's explaining microfarads, and actually very impressive to see that that this seller has done that. And let's see who sold this to me, because I really want to promote this. This seller seems to know their stuff. So, of course, I don't get sponsored by this, but maybe if this person is interested in me doing more kits on video, I'd be willing to entertain some type of a deal for that. But let's look at the purchases. So I purchased this from Affinity for Artifacts is the seller, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so not too terribly far away from me, in fact. Seems to be a good quality kit. Nice assortment of capacitors from brands that I am familiar with. MPT for the foil type capacitors. The electrolytics are from, what is that, S-Tech? I've seen their stuff, I've tested their stuff. It seems to be good quality. Haven't really had any real thoughts or issues with it. They are over-spec'd, 105C rated electrolytics. Seller does also include the replacement diodes for the diode bridging setup. So it replaces the old type, replaces with a new series, the 1N4007, which are an overspec from where these were. So anyway, the old diodes are way out of production, obsolete. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to do a housing cleanup on this at a later date, but I just want to get this thing operational before I get into the cosmetics. So let's go ahead and crack this open and see how far we can get. Which I'm hoping we're all good, because I've already tested the tubes and they all seem to be in good functioning order. I have already tested and verified the transformer is in a good working operational state, and everything else looks pretty good. I will give it a little general cleanup inside, since I'm hoping that I don't have to make my entrance back in here for some time after doing this process. The meters are all in good working operation as well. Housing's in pretty decent shape. There's a little bit of damage in the bottom. Looks like it was kind of handled a little roughly, probably in shipping. It wasn't packaged all that well. So, power cord was cut off. I did strip these back so that I could put a temporary cord on it. I'll go ahead and replace that too as well. I do not have a brand new cord, but I will probably just use an old good condition cord that I have left over from another piece of equipment that was replaced. The cord was replaced in. So got our full complement of tubes in here. These 6L6s, I believe, if I remember right. Yep, 6L6s, and they tested out in pretty decent shape, no issues. The voltage regulator tubes, they looked like they were in good shape. The 0A2s all seemed to be cooperating, and then the two other drivers, the rectifier tube was in good shape. I had swapped it with the other one I had anyway, but that was just a part of my testing procedure. So all the tubes in it are fantastic. Pilot light was burnt out. I replaced that. Sprayed out all the controls with some deoxit, which is another thing that the seller had recommended. I think for the sake of just being safer, I'm going to go ahead and pull these tubes out since they're kind of the ones that I don't want to have damaged. So here's what we've got. We've got a bunch of capacitors to replace in here. Now, with this step, this step being kind of the thing, I do want to state that if you are doing this on your own, you have to accept all the responsibility of what that means. And there are dangerous levels of voltage in here, enough to light your light bulb up in a hurry, or potentially put you in a state of well, not breathing. So that's your warning. If you are doing this, as Mr. Carlson says, you are doing this at your own risk. So don't come crying to me if you're if you died. So so what do we have here? We got 22450, 22450. Looks like we have 4 of those. We have a 40 at 450, 100 at 450, and another 100 at 450. So let's look at the complement that we have currently in here, because it'll kind of make sense. I have a 350 at 70, another 350 at 70. So I'm assuming that at this point, the 100 at 450s are going to replace those. We have, again, this has been off for some time, and I'm comfortable to say that everything's discharged. So we have a 20 at 450, we have a 40 at 450. So we need those for that. And then we have 20 and 20, so we have 2 capacitors in one, so those are going to be 20 at 350s. We're going to be replacing those with 22s at 450s, and then we have a 20 at 450. We have our full complement of electrolytics. So we'll deal with the film capacitors, the polys, or whatever those are, the micas, after we're done with the electrolytics. We'll go ahead and do the diodes as well. So first things first, let's start tackling this fun job. Okay. And I prefer to just remove the entire capacitor without leaving, like, doing any type of lead, that looping type connection, if at all possible. Sometimes it's just more convenient to do it where things are tied, but I'm going to leave myself a note here. Positive. Negative. And then this is going to be negative, positive. Just because life gets a little crazy down here, and you never know, you might get pulled away from the job, so I want to make sure I left myself a, hey, this is where you left off, knucklehead. And again, I'll be replacing these diodes, so I'm not too terribly concerned about keeping them in. Okay, that's one. And out of curiosity, I am going to hook it up to this awesome tester and just get my eyeballs on what condition they actually truly are in. And this is another Heath kit product. This is the Heath kit IT-11, which is the capacitor checker. It actually applies working voltage to the capacitor, so
good afternoon.
So you can see how well that capacitor is working under its working voltage. So got 50 volts, 100 volts. It's taking a second. 150. It's taking a second, and yeah, it's kind of not looking like it wants to go too terribly much higher. It's doing it, but it doesn't like it. Let's see, 250, and this is what, rated at 350? Yeah, at about 250, it's pretty much done. Looks like it's a kind of quote-unquote reforming, but it's not great. All right, we'll discharge it, and let's replace it. So that was 70 microfarad at 350. So we're going to go ahead and grab them. Pop that in. That should work out fairly well. And since we're here, let's get this diode done. So band is facing that way. It's amazing how much smaller these diodes are. Okay. And we're in a position to put a little solder on some stuff, so might as well get that out of the way. That looks acceptable. And the next one. Oops. That's okay. It's not like I'm gonna keep them anyway. The seller did include a new terminal strip for the diodes, which was kind of a nice thing as well. Although I'm going to just reuse the old one, but that'll end up in my parts bin for another project at some point down the road. Alright, let's snot some solder on there. Groovy. Let's get that out of there. Yep. Well, I just cut it off anyway. Now we gotta get more of it out. Okay, let's get this capacitor out of the way too. Okay, and that means we're going negative because that's why I labeled it. And through and positive. That looks like it's going to be acceptable. And then here's the other diode. Okay. use more solder. Good. So that's that handled. Jump bits, couple of diodes still left. These, and of course I had that discharging so I don't zippity zap myself, because that thing can hold, those can hold a charge, don't you know? Alright, what's next? Let's do these two. Let's get that out of the way. Come on out. Go. And let's mark that on the chassis so I know where that goes. Positive. This one's also positive. Negative. Cool. 2450. That's going to be this guy. Okay. Let's get that out. Make some room. Battery's done. Okay. 40 at 450. 40 at 450. Let's mark the chassis. Negative. So some of you are probably asking, well, how come you don't just replace all those resistors too while you're in here? And honestly, a lot of the times the resistors are fine, especially these types of resistors, these carbon composite. This particular type, there's a type of carbon resistor that it has just real flat edges on either end, and those are usually well within their spec. Doesn't mean that that's always the case, but it's capacitors that are mostly going to give you your trouble. But that doesn't mean that it's always just the capacitors. So for certain types of circuits, the resistors will give you more of a problem than other types of circuits. Like power supply circuits, it's fine. I mean, these are likely not going to be an issue. But you should always check them. If in doubt, check them out. Okay. Okay, so those are done. Now we've got these two, or three actually, because 2 and 1. We got the polys to deal with, and 2 more diodes. So where do we want to start? Let's start with this guy. It's here, it's staring me in the face. It's giving me that look. So these do have a band on them. Now they're non-polarized, but in the old days, these capacitors were labeled so that you knew which end was the foil end, the end that was essentially the ground side, or the outer foil shielding portion of the capacitor. That's important in some circuits. anything with a receiver where you're going to have RF noise or the potential of picking up hum or buzz. It's kind of an important step. Now, because I plan on using this for working on tube amplifier circuits, I am going to take note of that and quickly test out the replacement capacitors to make sure that I am putting something in the right way. So that's 0.2. 503, that is 473. Yep, that would be this one. Just to take note that the foil end goes towards the back of the chassis. I'm also going to be reusing this little insulating tubing that was on the original, because, well, why not? If I can, I'll put it as close to the socket as possible, but sometimes you just need a little standoff. Alright, I got my oscilloscope warmed up. I'll spin it around so you can see what I'm going to be doing here, and give you an idea of how to just quickly find out which way is the right way. I need a probe. I need a probe. Okay. Actually, I'll use this probe. Alright, let's spin you around. Okay, so I got my oscilloscope all warmed up here. Just gonna make some connections. And we're gonna be looking at this guy, of course. So I'm gonna grab the old capacitor, or the new capacitor, and I'm just gonna clip it on. And what we're gonna do, so flipping it on like this. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hang on to the capacitor, just the outer body, without touching any of the other pieces, like any of the contacts themselves, the wire connections. And we're gonna make this as sensitive as possible. And we're gonna look and keep an eye on what we have. Okay. Taking note of what it looks like, how big it is. And then I'm gonna flip the probe around. And we're gonna see, okay, what does that look like? We're looking for the lowest noise side of it. It's a little hard to do sometimes, but RMS with the RMS voltage, I'm seeing 3.8-ish fluctuating. And then on this side, I'm seeing 2.4. So what that's telling me is the current orientation of this is the foil side, this is the non-foil side. So let's go ahead and mark it. I like to put just a little black dot on the capacitor itself. Where are we? Right here. So I'm just going to put a little black dot to let me know that that's the foil side. And I might as well just tackle these two while I'm at it, since they're here. 0.29, 0.3-ish in that range. Let's go ahead and flip the probes around. Yeah, okay, we're higher on that side. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark this. Let's get the next one. This is a good procedure to perform whenever you get these capacitors that aren't marked on the foil side. Okay, 0.33, 0.32. Let's flip it around. 0.2, 0.4. Yep, okay. Good enough. Flip it back around. All right, welcome back. Okay. So I have marked these with a dot now so that I know which side's the foil side. And surprisingly enough, but you can't always go by this. Depending on which way these enter the machine when they wrap them or label them, they can be in either orientation. So, but in this case, they are all the same foil sides on that side on these. Don't that's not a It's not something you can go by unless they're absolutely labeled with the foil side. You just kind of have to test and verify yourself. So, okay, let's get this in. Foil side goes that way. Go ahead and slip this insulating tubing on. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this insulating tubing on. The leads are a little on the long side, but that's fine. If I was really nitpicking this, I'd get it closer to the actual sockets themselves. Kind of cuts down on the potential of noise buzzing getting in the circuit, but this will work great. Quickly slaughter in that capacitor, blowing in some fresh cool. So that's done. And looks quite nice as well. Okay, that's out of the way. We got these to do and then these to do. So where do we want to start? Let's start with these, and then we'll work our way through the rest of it. Okay, that's free. For the sake of, well, ease, that wasn't even soldered. That's nice. That was just kind of floating in there. Hmm. Excuse me. Oh, we'll solve that problem. Okay, let's move forward. Excuse me. 220 at 350s, not 220. Two separate 20 at 350s are in that package. So we're gonna need those. We need to clear out these. Well, really only need to clear out one because only one of them was actually soldered. Okay, let's write the chassis stuff. Positive, positive, negative. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Cool. Yep. Looks acceptable to my eyes. Now, we got this guy. Okay, that's positive. And negative. Now, let's clear out the rest of this because there's a little more. Uh-oh, we're plugged. There's a little more going on in that particular standoff. Let's just put some fresh on it. Let's see if we can loosen up a bunch of this crud. Oh yeah, that did it. Gotta get. Did that go in my cup? It went in my cup. Okay. All right. Well, that's a bummer. Do you think it's magnetic? Let's find out if those are magnetic, because then maybe. Oh, it is. All right. Let's go magnet fishing, everybody. Maybe it just hit my cup. Well, we'll find out if I swallow a piece of metal. Ah, good times. Yay! That's how everything goes around here. All right. Tastes like coffee. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Let's put this in. All right. We're almost done. Okay, and that's a 2.2 at 200. That would be this one. 0.2 at 630. Upgrade. Okay, let's solder that in real quick. There. And we can feed this through and up and over and under and around. And that'll work. Right. That's that. We have two diodes and one more capacitor. So there's the other capacitor, and there's the two diodes. So let's go ahead and get these diodes done since we're kind of in that region. Fan's going that way. Okay. That looks good. Now we got power cord to deal with, and we've got one more capacitor. Let's get that out of here. Uh-oh, we're plugged. Okay, and that is a 50 microfarad at point 0.5, 0.05 microfarad at 200. Oh, little filter cap of sorts. Okay, there to there. Cool. And that is that. Power cord. Power cord it is. I'm going to be replacing this with a different cord anyway, but um, I think for the time being, we'll just make it a little safer. Mostly not having an exposed cord or a bell capped off or wire nutted like I have it. That was purely just to see where this thing stood. Okay. And it is a non-polarized cord, so, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just gonna, this isn't gonna stay. I'm gonna be replacing it. But for now, so that I have something that's a little bit more reliable and mildly safer, I will go ahead and kind of bodge this. Not bodge as in like, make it freaking wrong, but sort of not the preferable way of doing it. I'll get a cord. There's some nice retro style lamp cords that are out there that are pretty good. But for right now, don't have any bigger ones. There we go. That ain't gonna work. What else do we have? Um, I've got to have some bigger ones in here. Let's try that again. And let's actually crimp it with maybe something that's a little bit better of a tool. Oh my God, what am I doing? Where I went wrong was I soldered it. For something that was going to be temporary, I'm sure doing this the wrong way. And I refuse. I refuse to use electrical tape because electrical tape is the devil. All right. Well, I have another plan. I should have just done this from the get-go. blue. Let's see here. Here's some blue lined heat shrink. Way over budget. Way over budget, folks. Yeah. Okay. Back to what I was doing. Oh, let's get this bulkhead latch lock cable holdy thing in here. Oh, I hate these things so much. There. That's not completely wrong. Some of you are probably going, well, I would have just electrical taped it. Yeah. No, I won't. Got a couple of things. Just shaking out all the little clip-off floaters that would most definitely get into the wrong position at the wrong moment, at the wrong period, at the wrong time. Here's one. Groovy. Let's put some tubes back in it, and we'll hook it up to the Variac isolation, not current limited, sorry, my bulbs. I had to take my current limiting bulbs off of it for a different area. So I am looking at building a nice all-in-one high current isolation, all the fun stuff that Mr. Carlson says at every moment in his videos. But for all intents and purposes, I'll hook it up to the Variac. And when I say that, I mean it's the isolation transformer Variac with current limiting, which this doesn't have right now. We're off position. Settings are all down to the bottom. Power is on. If I did this right, we won't have smoke. So stand by. We're warming up the tubes, and they are warming up. All right, fingers crossed. We have good strong negative supply. We have nothing on the high volt side. Oh, ha ha ha. Showing backward voltage or something. Interesting. Let's take a look. What do we got going on here? What do we got going on here? All soldered. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Fuse is not blown, otherwise we wouldn't have our pilot supply. Negative, negative, positive, negative, positive, 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 negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive. Diode chains are in the right order. There's a loop-de wire there. Let's take a look at my other unit. I don't think that's wrong. Luckily and unluckily, I have another one that has a bad transformer, but I did not do anything other than just eyeball it. What do we got? Oh, that's right. We got something else going on. Okay. Okay. Let's have a look-see. Didn't blow the fuse, but I'm gonna put in a fast-acting fuse anyway. What do we got going on? Power on. Okay. The negative supply works fine. Positive side, no bueno. Why would that be? Handling with care. Mm-hmm. Goes to the current meter and comes back down, goes into there. So that's the capacitor that we need to look at. Is wired correctly, so we know that that's not the issue. So to DC voltage, very carefully. We're doing this live, but I also am not trying to kill myself. We have negative 21 volts. That's not right. We should not have negative voltage on that rail. That is not correct. So what did we do? We replaced that, that. Do we have glow in the regulators? We do. So the regulators are doing their job. Let's test here and here. We have nothing. Here and here, we have nothing. That's leading me to believe that we have a problem with the diodes. Let's go to AC and let's test from here. Oh, where's the other end? Goes to here to here. We have 170 volts. Now, if I go to DC, I'm just gonna assume is chassis ground, chassis ground. It is not. Let's go to here to here. Okay, from there to there. 70 volts. Something doesn't sound happy. Hmm. I've got more diagnosing to do, but the cap kit's installed correctly. There's obviously another issue going on with this. So, part 3 coming up.